As I'm sure everyone in the Poke community knows, Paldea is based on Spain and makes references to Plato's story of Atlantis. But did you know that the stories of Atlantis share themes and possibly origins with many other ancient tales, like the myth at the Egyptian temple of Edfu, Mesoamerican flood myths, the Mayan Popol Vuh, the Torah, and the Bible? And did you know that the stories of Atlantis were also behind the events of World War II, which led to a ruinous disaster for Japan and the history of humankind? And all of this is referenced by Pokémon Scarlet and Violet? Could the Japanese creators of these games really be putting all of this adult content into children's games? I'll prove that they are, and explain why they're doing it. What are they trying to tell us? Enrolled in the Paldean academies, we are bestowed with the wisdom required to understand these ancient myths, which has been passed down through three main real-world historical figures: Plato, Carl Jung, and Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Countless direct references to their books are made throughout the games. There's a very clear line of thought that starts with Plato, is continued by Carl Jung, and is now picked up by the plots of Scarlet and Violet. You know how in both Paldea and back here on Earth, everyone is debating about whether the events and entities encountered by Heath are even real or if they are imaginary? In the academies that Plato himself founded, he would tell the tale of Atlantis and debated which events and entities are real or imagined. By discussing what is known as the problem of universals, Plato claimed to have solved the problem of universals with his theory of forms. Later in our timeline, Carl Jung applied Plato's theory of forms to the events, entities, and time-traveling disks of World War II in his book, Flying Saucers. Carl Jung's psychological interpretation in Flying Saucers connects myths of the future with myths of the past, drawing parallels between the two and declaring that they are both imaginary and real. Just like the past versus future and fact versus fiction themes in Scarlet and Violet. The Scarlet book also references Carl Jung's Red Book, which details his encounters with entities in his subconscious, like the Scarlet book's Phantom Memory page. In Flying Saucers, he explains that Platonic forms evolve with technology over time, like the frequent substitution of automobiles and airplanes for animals and monsters in modern dreams. I believe the creators of Pokemon are referencing that exact line with the designs of Koraidon and Miraidon. He also explains why all of these ancient and modern myths share a Faustian perspective on technology, with divine beings causing cataclysms to set back civilization when he writes, "Morality consequently degenerates into legalistic behavior, and the Felix Culpa remains stuck in the Garden of Eden. We are surprised at the decay of ethics in our century, and we contrast the standstill in this field with the progress of science and technology." Much like the professor's Faustian pact with the disc Pokemon, sacrificing their lives to achieve their technological dreams. Carl Jung also specifically connects crystals and Faust to Plato's theory of forms with all of its themes of eyes, sight, light, lightning, fire, the sun, and knowledge in his letter to Bernhard Milt, and throughout his tales of crystal cities in Flying Saucers. These ideas could not be more symbolized throughout this generation of Pokemon games, lest we forget the gleaming Terra crystals and the names of the games being a reference to infrared and ultraviolet light, which lie just beyond the spectrum of light visible to humans. As Carl Jung was detailing the shared archetypes of fictional sci-fi stories coming out of World War II times, a figure related to World War II shared a lot of the same archetypes and is a perfect parallel of Heath, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. The Missing Diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd was published by his son after his death as a non-fictional account of what he claims to be true events. Now, the masses call his son and him a liar, doubting even his claims that he was the first to reach the North Pole by air. Check out how similar these details are to Heath, Scarlet and Violet. The missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd is supposedly his journal that he wrote on a dangerous expedition with his beloved pet in order to research, set up base, and find hidden treasure, inspired by inscriptions of ancient advanced technology, the story of Atlantis, superhumans, and of a spear and cup as legendary ruinous objects. He reached a crater surrounded by mountains, had encounters with mammoths, paradoxically out of time, and ancient, highly intelligent, extraterrestrial, disc-shaped time machines, all at an underground, glowing crystal city, referred to specifically as a paradise. He encountered these beings after descending in an elevator to a room with crystal walls, and had to retreat from attacks, warning his country that more could follow. This was all possible because he was highly respected and funded by institutions with the greatest libraries of data. Despite this, it's debated whether the book is a factual account or fantastical fiction. In the missing diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, he even writes that the encounter felt like a dream, but it was real. And just like the beginning of the games, this diary starts with a flight in which Admiral Richard E. Byrd loses control of his plane at a cave. There's a wild Russian documentary titled The Third Reich, Operation UFO, that was created officially by the government and covers all of this information. It explains how Atlantis inspired He Who Shall Not Be Named to go on an expedition to Antarctica, then how Admiral Richard E. Byrd went on an expedition to Antarctica and encountered aliens, and how the Russian government was concerned about what Americans are doing in Antarctica research bases, suggesting there's contact with alien life going on there. Do you know about what we're doing in Antarctica up to this very day? It can't be connected to the games too, could it? Oh, but it very much is. Antarctica has the most stellar view of the stars because of infrared light windows and terahertz transparency. In addition to the infrared light windows, there is also an increased level of ultraviolet light in Antarctica. And because of this, Expeditions established a fully self-automated AI observatory dome in Antarctica named Plato's Dome A, looking up at the stars. They say Plato's Dome A is probably the only place on Earth that can routinely observe at the terahertz frequencies crucial to the understanding of the interstellar medium, and in particular, the life cycle of stars. We want to understand the life cycle of stars for many reasons, including the detection of cataclysmic events, as well as to look for habitable planets, which we could either travel to and survive on, or find alien life already living there. There's a spacecraft observatory, also named Plato, being developed by the European Space Agency's Cosmic Vision program that shares the same main goal as Plato's Dome A in Antarctica, to find habitable planets. This shared goal is reflected in both of their names being Plato, referencing his story of Atlantis, which warns of civilization's reoccurring cataclysms. The Plato spacecraft is fully self-automated and AI, just like Plato Dome A and the professors of Paldea. And the Plato spacecraft even reports their findings in what's called a red book. Why is that? Why are we filling up on red book references? Well, red books are actually a thing. In fact, so are rainbow books. Cultures all across the world use color from the visible spectrum of light to code their books and official documents. A red book is typically an official or canonical collection of data, regulations, or writings. The creators of Pokémon are certainly aware of this and have referenced it with their Scarlet and Violet books. Also, some of the most famous red books are related to three main topics: technology, treasuries and financial matters, and Faustian devil contracts, which is referenced in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet with the Faustian pact the professors make with the disc Pokémon, sacrificing their lives to achieve technology, Gimmighoul, the ruinous treasures, and the hidden treasure. All of the reoccurring themes of Faust are symbolized by red books, as the second definition for a red book is usually a book supposedly belonging to the devil and containing the signatures of those in league with him. The Red Book of the Rainbow series of computer security standards and guidelines published by the United States Department of Defense is widely known as the ugly red book that won't fit on the shelf, which is clearly referenced by the appearance of the Scarlet Book in the library of the academies, as well as the finale of the games when you face the AI professor's Paradise Protection security protocols trying to eliminate you. Another famous set of red books is for the official compact disc format specifications, which has a book specifically titled the Scarlet Book. This Scarlet Book for compact disc protocols is referenced in the games not only with the Scarlet Book, but also the disc Pokémon and the Indigo disc in the DLC. All of these rainbow book collections also have purple and violet books too. Like Ryfort's belief in fairy tales, there's even a highly influential rainbow fairy book series with a violet fairy book that specifically tells tales of chests of gold coins, a magical dog, and a man who outwits a dragon. That's not all. I've got extra juicy bonus fruits for you here at the end, like how this all connects to Spain. Many people believe Atlantis could have been a real place located partially or entirely in Spain. The allegories discussed in Plato's Atlantis, Egypt's Temple of Edfu, and Maya's Popol Vuh are also present in the Kabbalah, and as many may not know, the Kabbalah was founded in Spain. Plato's writings about Atlantis involve the Titans of Greek mythology and speak of gigantic, monstrous brutes that became so large by eating the ample roots of the Atlantean lands, which seems to clearly give us the inspiration for the Titan Pokémon becoming titanic from eating the herba mystica of the Paldean lands. Also, Plato's Symposium tells us the tale of another cataclysmic myth that not only warns us of hubris causing our destruction, like the myths of Atlantis and the ruinous Pokémon, but also gives us a Spanish explanation for the name of Naranja Academy. Oranges and grapes reference the Greek gods of Plato's time, Apollo and Dionysus, and what they stand for. But there's also a famous Spanish phrase inspired by the Symposium that goes, "Encontrar tu media naranja," or to find your half orange. This phrase was inspired by a myth in Plato's Symposium because it describes an event in which Zeus used his lightning bolt to strike spherical human beings in half to prevent them from ascending to the height of the gods. The movie Hedwig and the Angry Inch even talks about this tale. Being cut in half, male and female counterparts long for one another, always feeling like their other half is missing, incomplete, or unholy. Eros's power of desire is thus the strongest over humanity. Finding your other half can be your paradise on Earth, and failing to do so like the professors can be your downfall. The creators of the Pokemon games are reminding us of the cataclysmic consequences of using technology for hubris in our current cyber AI age of UFO disclosures and woolly mammoth revivals. They are warning us to be noble of character like the heroes of these ancient and modern myths while we pursue our own personal paradise, our own hidden treasures, and even when everyone else around us seems to be doing the wrong thing. Through the lore of the games, the Paldean Fairy King's love of foreign treasures, the Professor's love for other time periods, Arven's love for his dog, Nemona's love for battling, and Kieran's love for winning, we see both how powerful following our desires can be and how destructive if done for bad intentions. Having a noble character is the quality that allows us to achieve our goals and become the masters of the Scarlet and Violet universe, as the script of the games reminds us all the way through to the end. But why is all of this in games for children? Well, you see, the creators of Pokemon are merely taking the advice of Plato, who spells out in the Republic that the best way to subversively teach rebellious youth truth is through children's games. For a deep dive into the parallels between Heath and Admiral Richard E. Byrd, check out this video on my channel. This one for a deep dive on Carl Jung's influence, and this one for a deep dive into Platonic Pokémon inspiration in Scarlet and Violet. I also have this video, which delivers the evidence for the real-life locations that inspired Area Zero and the Crystal Pool. So check out that video, which will be linked in the end screen. Welcome aboard Vessel X I.